Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations walkthrough. It is time to begin Episode 4, Turnabout Beginnings. And so, we're thrust back into the past to take on Mia Fey's first ever trial. And, oh boy, it's a doozy of a case. And it's also where we are going to start to see a number of very important threads that have been woven throughout Trials and Tribulations finally start to come together. This is a pivotal case in terms of understanding certain things that have come before and certain things that are going to come afterwards. So you are definitely going to be wanting to pay attention to what is going on throughout this case. And here we have Terry Falls. He is our defendant for the day, and as you can see, he's already been in prison. And yeah, it's not looking good for him, let's put it that way. In terms of his names in other language, his Japanese name is Michiru Onamida, and his French name is Regis Flochime. So his Japanese name, from the pronunciation of Michiru Onamida, combined with the kanji in Michiru, makes beautifully falling tears. His English name, Terry Falls, it's sort of roughly close to Tears Fall, which is similar to the Japanese, but also you have got a sort of sense of there he falls. And also, since falls is a homophone for falls, we can clearly see that Terry Falls is a fall guy. He's the guy who's potentially ultimately going to take the fall for somebody else's crime. His French name, Regis Flochime, could be referenced to the famous Fleury-Mérogis prison in France, which is the largest prison in Europe. We also have our first actual glimpse at the man who would go on to be someone very important to Mia, and that is Diego Armando. And I mean, he has a well, let's just say that he really likes to call Mia kitten for some reason. He's got a massive obsession with the word kitten. But this is fine. Grossberg's not here to help us, as he would then go on to be in years later. But first off, we have to deal with well, we have Diego here to help us. Now, his full name is, well, potentially a reference to the famous Argentine soccer player and manager Diego Armando Maradona, who's famous for his hand of God goal during the 1986 FIFA World Cup quarter-final against England, and his suspension from the sport due to drug use. There's also another very important reason that his name is potentially Diego Armando, but that is something that we will deal with at a later point. Now, the thing that I find really particularly fascinating about this case is, obviously it's Mia's first case, but also, look, it's Edgy! God, it's been so long since we've seen Edgeworth. Like, absolutely eons. Because I'm pretty sure that, well, so he does turn up in Justice for All, but he really isn't that major of a feature in the game. We basically just deal entirely with Franziska von Karma in that game. So Edgy doesn't really come into anything until I'm pretty sure it's the last case. And even then he's very useful there, but it's great that we get to see his first trial, to see what he was like before we first met him in the original Ace Attorney. And I mean, I do think that it's quite fun because he's clearly a lot more flamboyant in terms of his dress. And actually, if you look at him, he's very much evidently modelled himself off of Manfred von Karma, because obviously Manfred von Karma is, at this particular moment in time, his mentor. So he's got the same kind of coat, he's got the ruffles and the waistcoat. Obviously, in time, he would then just go on to wear the suit. Still have the ruffle, but he very much became his own man, whereas at this point he was very much emulating his mentor. And as I believe I did say a lot earlier on in the walkthrough, we've also got Gumshoe here, and he also, well, he doesn't get a brand new sprite a la Edgeworth or Mia. He just gets a recolour, so he gets a different coat. And that's pretty much it. But I think because it's a lighter colour, it does make him seem a bit more youthful, because it lightens his colour palette up a little bit. So there's not as much dourness going on there. And ooh, I do love a good map. Just give me a good map in a murder case, and I'm sure we can sort out quite a lot of the issues here, because, I mean, this is a very nice and detailed map, to be fair. I mean, that way you can, you know, position things properly and all that jazz, so it's helpful. Now, I have to say, I'm liking this judge, because he's just going, yeah, if you don't have a case, get the frick out of my court. Which, just like, come on, we needed this sort of force in most of our regular cases. Why can't we have just had this guy for all our trials? Like, he actually seems to have a bit of a good noggin on his head, in the sense of he's not going to put up with any of the prosecution's lies. But anyway, Gumshoe, I know at this point in the timeline we've only just met, But please don't make the assumption of brutally murdered when you need to prove that he was the one who did the murdering. You see, you need to play specifics here. Also, one thing that I find a bit odd, it's just an aesthetic thing, is that there's not a whole lot of time between these Mia trials and the way Mia appears in the original Ace Attorney, and then how she appears throughout the rest of the franchise. Because obviously she looks really young and youthful here, and ultimately she looks a lot older come the rest of the series. But it's only about maybe 5 years or so that we are dealing with. So, this particular incident takes place in 2007. And well, so the incident takes place in 2007, that's going to be discussed partially, and then this particular case takes place in 2013, specifically February 16th, 2013. And then Turnabout Memories takes place in April of 2014. And it's only 2 years later that Nick makes his court debut in the trial of Larry Butts for Cindy Stone's murder. So, 2 years to go from this Mia to the Mia that we are used to seems a little bit much, considering it looks like she's gone from being a early 20-something. Okay, so so she's around 24 when we see her first, and then she's 27 by the time we meet her later on as Nick. So 24 here, 27 in the rest of the game. And I don't know, there's just... it comes through in the artwork, because you do change quite a lot in your 20s. I mean, obviously you change the most throughout your teens, but obviously Mia's fringe line kind of gets a bit pointier, her jawline seems to get a bit stronger and more chiselled. I don't know, there's just... in looking at the differences between the sprites, they're just that little bit too different, I feel. It's strange, like, I shouldn't necessarily be feeling that way, but it's mostly just, I think, something to do with the sprite work, because there are moments when it looks like the right age progression, but the rest of the time she just looks far too young. It looks like a much larger age gap, like the Mia that we see in the General Nick cases was in her 30s, while the one we see here is in her 20s. But I suppose it can't be helped. It's one of those things of... aging can be weird, let's put it that way. And I suppose if you're dealing with lots of murder trials, you're gonna age quite quickly, shall we say. The one thing that's never changed about Mia is her clothing. She's pretty much stuck with that throughout her entire career, and I suppose, hey, if it works, it works. But anyway, we have more testimony to deal with. But we are getting some decent stuff out of this trial so far, because we've got a weird-ass scarf that's muddy, but maybe it shouldn't be muddy. I wasn't paying huge amount of attention. I was kind of just, you know, babbling on about Mia, as you do. Oh, bloody hell. There's a picture and there's a witness. And I see a little bit of curiosity here. Because in this picture she's facing forward. She'd have to turn around for him to stab her in the back, unless, you know, he bear hugged and, well, so, because of that map, she's going to go on to the other way, because massive hole would have fallen. So, very, very suspicious. Very suspicious indeed. I have a feeling this is going to be a particularly helpful piece of evidence. And oh god. Okay, I take back everything I said about this judge being a little bit more helpful than the main judge. He's just as clueless. Ugh. But anyway. This photo is going to be incredibly important. Because this does not match up with the frickin' photo. And I don't know why I'm looking at this particular photo. Because basically we need to, present that crime photo rather than the other the witness photo. It's bizarre. But I suppose it does make sense. Because if the victim had been shoved and stabbed from behind, then surely the coat would be muddy as well, because she would have fallen flat on her face. She's too clean, basically. It's almost like she'd been murdered beforehand and then stuffed in the trunk. Or the boot. Because I should say boot because I'm from the UK and that's what we refer to the thing at the back of a car as. The boot. That's why we have car boot sales. You see, all makes sense. Yeah. You see, so it does make sense entirely. Don't need to know about that. This is true, but if the bridge is, well, we're saying that the scarf fell off and it's muddy, therefore it must have been muddy. And also, I mean, it's a frickin' bridge. Of course it's gonna be muddy. you generally get people tracking across those things all the time, so, duh. Oh! Oh no. Edgy, I love you. I love future you. After, you know, Nick's sorted you out. But I will not accept anyone calling me a fair bimbo, because she's got it all going on up here. I say, pointing to my head, so that you know what my gesture is, because otherwise, got it all going on up here doesn't make any sense, because that could be perceived, not brilliantly, because it could be seen all going on up here, and referring to the chest region, shall we say. Well, clearly, the false evidence would have to be the witness photo, because just nothing about it makes sense. Clearly. And you see, this is where he learned this stuff from Manfred von Karma, and it's just not good. You don't try and use false testimony and false evidence to try and get someone done. Because not only is it incredibly illegal, it's also just morally bankrupt. Because you're getting an innocent person convicted for a crime that they didn't commit. And that's just awful. So, I think that we have hopefully poked enough holes in Gumshoe's testimony to give us a bit more time to work this all out. And yeah, we want to meet this witness because nothing they've said makes sense. Nothing whatsoever. And you know, just we can't let that stand. Okay, so who is this mystery witness? Oh. See, I told you that this case was going to be very, 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 very important to what has been before and what has happened since. Because this is certainly a very familiar face. One that we have learned to despise. So, let's see what this witness has to say, because already we know she's a lying cowbag, so let's find out. And your name is not Melissa Bloody Foster. Get a grip, girl. So I think we're going to be having to do we're going to have to do a lot of digging to get to the bottom of this, because I'm sorry, don't wash for me, sister. Like, seriously, you ain't Melissa Foster. Thank God that we have the foresight of dramatic irony to help us with this, because we know who she is, and we are just going to need to prove it, you know? Let's get on with this testimony, eh?